July 7th. Hello. Um, I'm filming at night tonight, obviously. And the first thing on my mind, actually, that I want to put on this is that I thought about quitting and stopping all of this over the last couple of days. It's not been like a persistent thought, but it's like this thought that comes in every once in a while. That's kind of like, am I doing the right thing? Should I keep going? Like, what am I doing this for again? Um, it's just this kind of like mm, thought that pops in from time to time, and I decided to continue. I kind of sat with that and let that thought kind of percolate and ripen, and then it just kind of fell off, and then I'm back. I'm back. I'm. It was a whole journey of like, am I doing the right thing? Am I going to um, put together this program as is? Because I was like, oh, like, is it a lot of work? Is it something that's a lot to like communicate to people, to kind of like share out? And I I came to the conclusion that it's the right move to like it's the right thing to continue with. I'm not going to change that, but I think what I need to do is get more clear on the message. The messaging is where I'm having problems with right now, because I think I'm still in a place where I want to do it all, and I'm not like honing in on that message. So if I were to think of who this program is for, that I want to help, it's for um, I guess tech, like work wise, probably somebody who's been working around for about 10, 15, maybe 20 years, getting into a position where they have some influence. Maybe they're not the boss, but they are a boss in the work that they're doing. And then usually it's at that point when you've kind of gone through, um, you know, a number of different like steps in your work process. Like you finish school, you've got the degree, you've got all the certifications that you need, then you go and like get a job, you start entry level and you're working your way up. You get into like a management position, and then you're just kind of like either looking for promotions or like finding another similar position, kind of like doing that whole game, jumping back and forth between companies potentially. And like that's kind of that path that's clearly laid out. That's like, this is the way you need to go. And it's around this period of time where there's possibly a pause, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, what is the cost? What's the ultimate cost of not following what you are meant to do, right? And for me, what that looked like was working too much, and sacrificing time from family, from my wife, from kids, from family. And it's when I was in that mode of like, I need to do this so that I can get that, then it was like, oh, like it's a sacrifice that I have to make. And right, like it's kind of like par for the course. And sure, there are a lot of paths that kind of lead that way, and if that's your path, there's nothing wrong with it. If you are happy doing that, then that's what you want to be spending your time doing. um, for me, it was challenging because I felt like I was in an environment where I could help people, and do some good. And at the same time, it wasn't to the fullest extent that I would have liked to see. And some of the timing there, the work that I had to do either in the evenings or on weekends, um, really took time away from family. I had two small kids at that time, and it was a lot of sacrifice, even moving into that ownership position of like, being the boss of a store, of a franchise. It was still a lot of work. It was a lot of time and commitment to the business as well as to the like my staff, my employees. And it takes a lot of work. And you know what? It wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to be able to make an impact on a wider scale, to impact how others impact others, is kind of how I like to think about it. So whether it's in the pharmacy space of helping pharmacy students and pharmacists do good work in the pharmacy, take a patient or person-centered approach, that's one thing, right? And then it's kind of like helping others become good leaders, good managers, good people that can support others. And then in that way, my work will grow so that I can impact kind of a wider web or a network of people. So then that's where like continuing this work is important to me, because this work is what will help me help others impact others better, right? And I think it's a matter of like clarity of messaging, because like for me, I have an end, like an end vision of individuals who would go through and learn this information, be able to integrate it and implement it into their own lives, so that then they can go and work to their passion, right? Whatever they're passionate about, they can move towards that and make the moves that they really want to make. It's interesting because I've talked to a lot of people that are either looking on the cusp of different career transitions, either just entering into a profession or being in work for some amount of time, and like thinking about what's next, right? And the question's kind of like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? If you didn't have to like think or worry about anything, what would you do? And for me, right, like I I like asking the questions, but then when the questions are turned back on me, then that's kind of where I pause. Take that pause. It was like, you're not supposed to ask me that question. But there's nobody else here to answer. So for me, I think what that looks like is being in a position to help others influence others with the best of intentions, whatever that means. I think I see a lot of people with good hearts, good heads on their shoulders that want to do well. And sometimes the thing that impacts them the most is themselves, having that their own negative self-talk, their own things of like, I could never do this because, or nobody would ever want me for this thing because. And I'm reflecting on this work compared to like just a regular job application, right? Like in some ways, when in the past, when I've applied for work and jobs, I believe that I fulfill the requirements. I believe that I can do the role that is posted, right? I can see that in myself. And sometimes it's a bit of a stretch of a role. There's like, is it something that I could do? Do I have all the qualifications? And ultimately, like in those situations, when I am applying for that work, I truly believe that I can fulfill that position, whatever that might be. And it's funny because this is almost like a job interview, right? Like I'm here trying my best to communicate and communicate that passion for helping you find your passion. And it's almost like a defensive posture of like, hey, look at me, look at all the things that I can do, right? Where like I'm thinking of advice that I've given for people who are going for interviews. It's like, remember that you are qualified for the job, that you're qualified for the job. That's why you have the interview, right? That's why you're in front of this person. And then, in addition to showing that you're right for the job when you're interviewing, you have to also make sure that the employer is the one that's right for you as well, right? There has to be that fit. Otherwise, it becomes like a one way street that the power ends up all in the other party. And there's probably a lesson there for me for me um, to think about, like, in this case, if I'm trying to talk to everybody, I will be talking to nobody because it's just like all generic junk, right? So maybe part of this process is finding those people who really resonate with this message, the ones who are ready to make a difference and make an impact, but feel like they are in their own way for various reasons, whether it's negative self-talk, whether it's a lack of confidence, whether it's not knowing how to present yourself comfortably. Like, all of these things are definitely challenges that I've heard of that you can encounter when you're kind of trying to enter into new spaces that you haven't been before. And it's always like work that you'll have to do for yourself. It's kind of that self-reflection piece, and to believe in yourself, right? And in a way, this is like my process of like getting to that point, kind of in real time, of like, look, I know that I'm qualified. I have the training, I have the background, I have the understanding, right? So it's like there's hypnosis, understanding how the mind works. Like, some of the work that I've done with people through hypnosis sessions, the shifts have been really amazing. Working from things like sleep, insomnia, with snoring, just general confidence before interviews, what a wide range of things, using different techniques like EFT tapping, like all of these different ways of shifting either our mental or our physical kind of like embodied perspectives. And then with human design is like, that's where the map comes in. It's like easy strategy for alignment, easy indicators for alignment, right? Like, these are, rather than thinking like, oh, am I feeling good? Am I feeling bad? It's kind of like, am I living in alignment with myself? Am I being myself right now? Or am I working from a place that's not self, not me? And it's basically like you have those two options. So like that combination, plus the depth that's in the human design chart, and with hypnosis and embodiment, like linking the actual like feeling in your perceptions and in your perspective that you are the one that's ready for this work, right? So part of doing that is doing the thing, right? Like finding some consistency, which is where this all comes in. And it's sometimes there's ups and downs. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I've kind of come on here and been like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, and all of this. And I think that's part of the process of like putting this all together. I think it's in the talking through it. That's like, how do I do this again? How do I do this? Because it's odd. There's no feedback, right? But talking to individuals, it's really understanding like you, where you are, and what you want. Like asking yourself that question of like, what do I actually want? And then working to move towards that, and removing all the barriers that will take you to that place. So yeah, I spent some time thinking about like, is this the right thing to be doing? And I thought about like moving more towards like a one-on-one, or like whatever type of like different sessions. But the kind of challenge there is like putting a group session together. part of maybe the reason is I'm maybe not the best at attending some of these group session type things. And I know at the same time that there are many people who would enjoy that, like that kind of environment as well. So just keep on going. I'm going to keep going. Yeah. Okay, that's enough. Bye.